Hello guys, welcome to another weekly breakdown video. Today I will be breaking down the Christmas week of 2023. Let's see what happens if we can catch any trades on the holidays where no one is trading, and let's see how the market reacts to the festivals. Okay, so let me first see the call outs. It was a 12:30 p.m. move. Okay, this will be on the trades. I have noticed that sometimes GU trades work and sometimes EU trades work 100%. I have noticed a pattern in the markets. Sometimes GU will have its move, yeah, and EU won't. Whereas sometimes GU won't have the move, which will be obviously the analysis will be similar on GU and EU because they are familiar, because they move very very similar to each other. And sometimes GU will have its move, and sometimes EU will have its move. So that is what I've noticed, and I wanted to let you guys know about that. Previous weekly low was taken on DXY, then GU went and took previous week high after some time. Yep, this is very interesting. Literally something very interesting happens. Let me show you what. And going on to the next week, 25th December is obviously holiday, bank holiday, and the market's holiday. 26 is also bank holiday. 26 is also the US holiday, I guess, and after that the market opens at 27. Let's see. So now starting from the weekly, as it is a weekly analysis video, starting from the weekly, now the weekly is reacting off of this supply zone right here, right? It is reacting off of this supply, making lower highs, lower lows, lower highs right here. And going to the next week, my weekly bias on GU is not clear because of how this candle closed here. It is a doji. So in this case, what we like to do, we go to DXY to confirm our bias, yeah. Whereas on GBP USD, this is the supply zone. This supply zone is valid due to this change of character which happened to the downside. Whereas now the price has retraced itself all the way up to the supply zone and given us a doji close, which is an indecision candle in the market. That means the buyers and sellers, there was no decision in the market. That is what it's saying. So now we go to DXY to confirm our bias, whereas on DXY helps us very much to confirm our bias, yeah. On DXY we can see the market is closed very very bearish. If we were looking for something on the next week, we could have looked for sells on DXY, and that will be buys on GBP USD. And looking at the price action, the market literally changed character here, broke structure here to the upside, higher highs, and now you can argue that it is making a higher low, right? Simple as that. We draw when the market's coming down, we draw the demand, and when the market's going up, we draw the supply. And this demand zone was valid due to this break of structure. There was a weekly break fair value gap here, so we targeted this weekly fair value gap as the draw of liquidity for the market to go and fill up this fair value gap. But my original target draw of liquidity would have been this low right here, as you can see. So this was my weekly analysis. So now going on to the daily, GU was not clear. To be honest, this is not an ideal situation to trade. You can take a week off here, to be brutally honest with you. You can take a week off, but due to I am backtesting, I want to know what happens when it happens, and I want to trade. I want to know every conditions in the market, yeah, because mastery requires repetition, and yep, that's why. Whereas on the daily time frame, now as we go there, the daily is now reacting off of this supply right here, as you can see, similar to the weekly, and this supply is valid due to this break of structure. There is also a demand here because of this break of structure to the upside, so we can anticipate the market. Overall market is bullish, as you can see, making higher highs and higher lows, so we can anticipate a higher low to then continue heading towards the upside, breaking structure to the upside. Now as you can see, last week was a fuck all. Monday went down, Tuesday went up, Wednesday went down again, Thursday went up, and Friday went down again. So last week was a very disastrous week to trade. It was best not to be in the market. December is obviously known for its slowness, and you can take a month off also, but no, we don't do that. If we get a trade, why not, yeah. And my daily bias on GU was not clearly, so now we go to DXY to confirm my daily bias. So on the daily time frame, there was fair value gap here, supply zone here. Also, you can argue that the new supply zone is here, but I have not marked this supply zone yet because of we don't know how the market will open, right? If the market directly continues to go down, then I will mark this supply instead of this supply. So that is what I do. I adapt to the market. I don't predict. And also it made sense on DXY to go and fill up this fair value gap before continuing to the downside, because, and it's also showing that it wants to go and fill up the fair value gap as it is a bullish pin bar, right? You can see we wait for the market to show us confirmation that it wants to go and fill up the fair value gaps, or it is respecting the zone or anything like that. So I personally anticipated that. Now going on Monday, my bias was bearish. If I was looking for something, it would be bearish, but we also have to see that Monday was Christmas, so obviously the markets were closed and the market was trading between these zones, making higher highs and higher lows, and it was literally ranging. Nothing was happening here. Whereas on DXY, even on DXY there was nothing much happening, but DXY was trending to the downside. So just on basis of the DXY, we were looking for trades on GBP USD. So let me show you. So market opened, right? Oh wow, so fast. Yeah, market opened on Tuesday directly. You can see there, market opened on Tuesday. Monday was Christmas, as you know, and on Tuesday there was no Asian range. So when there is no Asian range, we don't trade. Simple. There was no Asian range, so I didn't trade also on Tuesday. So directly on Wednesday now. So now we go directly onto Wednesday. Okay, let me show you on the hourly so that it will be clear for you. Look, Friday there was an Asian range. Market opened on Saturday, it closed, and Tuesday it opened on Tuesday. There was no Asian range, so didn't took the trade. So now we will look for trades on Wednesday. Now from Wednesday the market will be normal, so obviously from Wednesday we'll look for trades. And on Tuesday there was also no clear bias. Tuesday literally went up, so now it makes sense to go with the trend. And obviously on Wednesday, if I'm looking for something, it will be buys on GBP USD. And when I confirm it with DXY, it was also aligning with our GU bias being bullish. It was bearish, so I anticipated Wednesday to go down, because now it is clearly bearish. On GU, then I go to the lower time frames like the 4 hourly to mark my zones and my important points of the market, points of liquidity. Here there is a 4 hourly fair value gap, and also the market is choppy right now. Whereas on the hourly, I have marked the demand zones already. Why? Because I have already back tested it. I'm just making a video for showing to you guys. Whereas on Wednesday I'm looking for buys, and if I'm looking for buys, then obviously I'll wait for the Asian range to close. And I was looking for buys from somewhere around here. Okay, I was looking for buys from somewhere around here. This is a very interesting trade. Please focus. Here the Asian high got swept early on, right? The Asian high got swept early on the week, so it was a low probability, right? So I was looking for a buy from this sort of M15 demand, because there was no clear H1 demand. And on the M15, this was a weak demand zone. This was a very, very weak demand zone. There was previous structural liquidity to sweep, and also the previous weekly high, low was taken on DXY. Then GU went and took previous week high. There was the previous week high is here, right? Whereas on DXY, the previous week low is here. So the previous week low is taken on DXY because it's so close. It makes sense. That's why we targeted the previous week high on GU, and it worked. Let me show you how. So now literally the market went down. Just because the market is going down doesn't mean that we look for sales. No, my higher time frame bias is very important. Higher time frame, this is when the higher time frames comes in clutch. The higher time frame bias is bullish, so I'm only looking for buys from this sort of demand zone right there. And there was also a hourly fair value gap right here. The market can have its move from any zone, as we know. So this demand zone was literally not respected. It was a fake out. It was a fake out, and then it filled up this fair value gap. The fair value gap was like this much, was this size, and it filled up 50% of the fair value gap. And then we entered for a 1:5 risk to reward, targeting the previous week high. Why did you target the previous week high? Good question. Because DXY has taken the previous week low. Clearly you can see, right? So this is the reason on Wednesday I targeted the previous week high, because they sometimes, this is called SMT, smart money technique, and we can use that in our advantage. And you can see it worked out very good in our favor. We caught a 1:5 risk to reward because we trade with the trend. If you trade with the trend and you catch the correct side of the markets, bro, you will be profitable. That's how everyone becomes profitable in the markets, by trading with the trend. So now going on Wednesday close as a bullish candle, so going on Thursday doesn't make sense to look for sales, does it? It can go rebalance the price and then go up, yep, 100%, but as the market is bullish, I am only looking for buys, and also the draw of liquidity is already taken on the weekly, so we also have to keep that in mind. And this weekly supply is now invalid because the price has now broke out that supply zone. So going on Thursday, Wednesday closed as a bearish candle, very strong bearish candle here, decision candlestick. So going on Thursday, I will be looking for sales, and yep, and I will look for buys on GBP USD. So on the 4-hourly, if I show you the price action, the previous week high is now taken. There is a 4-hourly fair value gap right here. Why you have marked that? Because obviously the Wednesday candle is not closed yet, mate. This is how the Wednesday candle closed. So this is a fair value gap. The market can easily come fill up this fair value gap and then go to the upside, and there is also a demand zone somewhere around here on the 4-hourly, but I don't mark the demand zone on the 4-hourly. That is the reason. You can argue there was also break of structure, fair value gap, so it was a strong demand zone. So now I go to the hourly to look for demand zones. On the hourly, you can see this whole move is one move, and I have told this a gazillion of times. Now on the 30 minutes, this whole one move will be higher highs and higher lows. So instead of marking a demand zone here, why not mark this demand zone? Because this is the M30, and it doesn't make sense to do this, but it makes sense to do something like this because of the trend is so strong right now. Hope it makes sense to you guys. And there was a 4-hourly fair value gap right there, and what we do is we wait for the Asian range to close, because until and unless the Asian range closes, we can't do nothing, because we are not moving the markets. Obviously we are just adapting to the markets. And so according to how the Asian range closed, I marked this hourly demand right here, which was not strong at all. This hourly demand was not in our session, but according to how the trend was looking, it was looking so strong. So that is the reason I was looking for buys from this sort of demand. So now let me go to the M15, and this was also a continuation model. You can see there was a M15 fair value gap, and whenever the trend is so clear, the bias is so clear, what I tend to do, we tend to take continuation models if we get it. So this was a continuation model trade, but also look at this. Our trading timing is 8 a.m. UK time, but this timing is, this is 8 a.m. candle, but this is a 7:45 candle. So what it did, I entered at this 7:45 candle inducement, we got induced, and then pretty much it was a losing day. Wednesday was a winning day, Thursday was a losing day. As you can see, I entered again right here on try it again, this demand zone, because the bias is so clear. When your bias is clear, your direction of the market is clear, you can literally take risks like I did. I have noticed that sometimes okay, and now, so Thursday was a losing day. If I traded 2023 December, I would win on Wednesday and I would lose on Thursday. So obviously 1-1, so not a problem. So now going on Friday, let me show you my bias, and this is why it's important. Let me show you. Now going on Friday, it makes sense. If I am looking for something on Friday, it would be sells, because I am trading daily bias. Why? Because the weekly bias is not clear. When the weekly bias is not clear, I trade the daily bias, and according to how Thursday candle closed, it's looking bearish, but it's not like wow in GBP USD. But when I go to DXY, it makes sense. Let me show you why. When I go to DXY, there is a fair value gap right here. I don't know why I have not marked this. There is a fair value gap here. So what I thought was, the market has made a huge move to the downside. Yeah, lower low. Now it needs a retracement. At least we are not saying that the price is showing us that it needs a retracement, and there is also a fair value gap which it can go and fill before making the move to the downside. So that was what I was thinking, and Also, it made sense because I'm trading the daily bias. Obviously this is not one of the high probability trades, and obviously this is not a high probability week to trade. Obviously you shouldn't be in the markets in this week, but just because I've told a gazillion of times now. And this 4 hourly fair value gap got filled to the T, and let me show you magic. So now obviously if I'm looking for sales, I will mark supply zones, and on the hourly I was looking at this supply zone right here, because this was the supply zone, this was the M15 supply zone. The hourly supply zone would have been this whole candle, so I refined this supply zone to the M15 because we do that. And obviously we'll wait for Asian range to close. The Asian range was very big on this day. As you can see, the Asian range, this is a beautiful trade. This was the supply zone I was looking for, just because this is the lower low on the hourly. This whole move is the lower high. People will do a mistake here. What they will do now, they will think and predict that now the market has shift character to the upside on M15, so let's look for buys. No, that's wrong, because your higher time frame bias is bearish, so you always look for sells in this kind of situations. That I've learned through backtesting and also through experience. And we only trade with the bias, even if we lose or win, doesn't matter. So this was obviously this was not my trade, because it was a 12:30 p.m. move, and we don't trade 12:30 p.m. that is 7 a.m. UK time, because it doesn't work for me. I have noticed 2023 12:30 p.m. doesn't work for us, which is obviously after daylight saving. It's a bit here and there, but I understand now totally. We only trade after 8 a.m. UK time candle or 7:30 plus. So yep, if I took this trade on 12:30, this would have been a winner, but it's a low probability trade because it didn't make sense to take this trade. But this shows that even if it's Christmas or it's holiday, the trades are still playing out. Your setup is still showing up, and you can still make money in the markets. Doesn't matter. So just information, just a data that is collected on 2023. Now I will start trading soon. I will start trading the 2024 data, and I will come to a conclusion if I want to trade that conditions. And obviously after my backtesting is complete, it's gonna be a whole different game. So yep.